And it will help if I turn on my microphone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the broadcast. Tonight we're going to be continuing our game dev project, going to try to move on to the inventory management system, ultimately a core element of the game. So above and beyond just increasing in power, there's also the idea of modifying the powers. I do see we have Fanman joining us. Welcome, welcome. Let's check in with the kitties real quick here. Oh, we have Sherbet over on the shelf. He is watching me. Hello, Sherbet. We have Ember settling in across from the keyboard and Sky taking up his roost there. Let's see. We do not have sight on Sammy or Mason. So let's, while he's visible, put camera on Sherbet. Let's fix that real quick here. Just a moment. There we go. It was still in Undertale mode. Okay. Let's see. Did we already start that ball rolling? Player inventory. Okay, here we go. So a couple of things for the inventory. We need to have a list of modifying movements. That is the ultimate goal there, Fanman. Once it is ready to roll, it will probably show up on Steam. We are still well beyond that, or well before that. But that's the target. That's where we want to start. See, for the inventory, we need which weapons are in which slots. For those weapons, we need a... Tata, we are making a game. Making a Vampire Survivor style game. This is just testing stuff, as may be apparent by the number soup on the left there. End goal is to get some special stuff in there, but we've got to work on it. We're working on it today to change it so that the spawners in the middle there are a little more dynamic. So at the moment, with the numbers that we've got, or as far as what we're spawning, we will occasionally get hitches down to 30 frames a second. You may subscribe if you like, Tata. But we can generally maintain at 60. It can become a problem if we get too many more projectiles on the screen at once, but I believe this is 6 spawners 10 times a second, which is, let's assume that that's going to be the fastest that anything can spawn, is 10 times a second. And hello there, Alira. Welcome. Okay. So last time we got our catalog rolling, which lets us define things by constant name here, which we will need for doing the modifiers. We need these things here. We're still potentially going to need to change these to targeter as like a subclass of movement. I actually wanted to do that. We may end up doing that first today so that we can have a separate category. My name is newtmechanist, Data. Well, ultimately Newt, but the Mechanist is a title. We'll get that later. We'll get that later. The targeter concept does need to be updated in how it flows into the rest of the system. I have some ideas there, but for now we'll leave it as is. Some of the ideas for it, I think, should be ultimately rolled up into movement. Yeah. Hey there, Raptor. Welcome. If you do notice me talking to somebody that you can't see in chat, there is a second YouTube stream that is the wide view. There is a pinned link in the tall form to get there. And I'm also running a Twitch stream. Oh, sorry about that. I forgot to switch that button. Let me verify that that changed. There we go. Sorry about that, Raptor. And I don't know if I answered from the US. I am located in the US. So I need the ability to load these in. I think at the moment what we'll do is we'll just keep adding them one after the other. So to start with, we need a set of spawners, probably ID'd by index, that they'll just get created. There's no getting rid of one once you create one. Oh. Pretty good there, Raptor. Pretty good. Just using like string parsing or something else. I don't know, like, am I choosing a name or I don't know what you're asking me to select. Okay, so in the player inventory we have okay. And we'll start there. This is an array of spawner. Starts empty just so we can get it there. We are working on the player inventory system, Tata. We're coding in GD script in the Godot engine. Stationer. That is an empty array. Pretty much, Raptor, you'd pretty much want to at least start with HTML and JavaScript. CSS is definitely going to be a must as well, but you can start without that. We don't need the player object in player inventory. It's actually irrelevant. The player object is just the representation of where the player is as far as the game world, but it's not actually tied to the spawners. Hey there, Blairit. Welcome. How long would it take you to learn Python? It depends on how you pick it up and how you practice. It also depends on what you're trying to do with it. The more complex of a thing you try to do, the longer it will take you not only to learn the toolkit, but also to implement it. So there's a lot of variables involved in learning coding. But if you start incrementally and just keep going, you'll get there. And it's just like learning a spoken or written language. It takes time and practice, and it will vary person by person. Well, thank you, Blairit. I appreciate it. Okay. I have no idea as far as examples there, Raptor, but I suspect just about anything. Okay, so we're going to have an initialize that needs to... Is that actually the annoying orange image that you have cropped down for your profile picture? It looks a little different. Okay. We need to release the spawners. Spawners aren't really... Right now, the spawner only gets set up when it's initialized. We could clean it out and just make a new one. Is there any worry about that? We'll need to make sure that we release all of the bits. I need to change the way that spawn works, and instead of it being a static, be something else there. And we would need to release it when we clear it. That's right, Tass. In-gaming resumes. Requiring a little thought on this portion because we're trying to figure out exactly how we want to roll with it. So we create a spawn point from it. Right now, this is the tricky part, is I think we can still do this the way we want. Okay, so one path that we could use would be to recreate the positioner chain and change the entity to use each time. If we do that, then we would also need to make sure that the entity's movement chain is being properly modified when that happens. Hello, dude. Hello. Same with the positioner chain. It ceases to be static. Yeah. So I'm going to remove the static there. Make it internal. I mean, just looking from chat, Blairit, it's much more apparent that, like, from casual review, it looks like it's an orange kind of laughing smiley face. I suspect if I was able to pull up like the profile picture in larger view, it might be more apparent. All right, so we have creating the spawner initially. Right now, that's where you pass in the actual entity template. And a target zone that it spawns in. We could make it so it just doesn't. So it just doesn't function without those things. Like if it doesn't have a zone to spawn to, it won't spawn. And if it doesn't have an entity to spawn, it won't spawn. Hey there, Drew. And sorry to hear about the friendship. It's something that ultimately happens. Friendship is not eternal. No Miss Circle? I recall, way back in the day, that there were little plastic figures that were meant as like children's books / children's learning tools that I think were like Mr. Shape. I can't remember what, like Mr. and Mrs. Shape. I can't remember what the collective was for them, what the grouping was called, but that's what it strikes me as, you know? Who doesn't like tea? I mean, there's a lot of tea I don't like. It's a highly variable beverage. It can even be good tea that you make badly. It's going to be a darker tea. I like chai. If it's going to be a sweet thing, then I like chai latte. Otherwise, and a fruit teas, you know, like lemon, that kind of thing, are good. Okay, I think we need to move the initialization of spawners out of the init function, outside of their creation. Because there are a lot of elements to it that won't matter until we have supplied them with sufficient information. Now, we have the option of just recreating them, but if that's the case, then the init will need more data. We could go into the template and change it there, but I don't think that's really what we want to do. So the template will have its movement chain. That isn't configured yet, but it will have its movement array ready for when we initialize it, when we actually spawn it. So when we initialize an entity, won't let us look, but we initialize an entity as part of that function. Where are you hiding? Initialize. We are going to create the movement chain. So when a spawner is created, we have two things to deal with. We have the actual entity template, does it get the entity template? All right, let's look at physics tech here. If we remove it, no, we can keep this global because there are, yeah, there are circumstances where just spawn one is what we would want to do. Welcome back, Tabby Cat. So the entity template that we pass into a spawner should be the modified one. So when we get one from the catalog, we get a copy. So say I get a movement, I get a cloned copy, which means it's not the original template. I don't have to worry about altering the original. When we're spawning, we're passing it in, so we don't need to worry about this impacting anything else. So I think rebuilding the spawner is ultimately what we want to do. Favorite meme? I don't really have a favorite meme. For one, memes are pretty transient. You know, which ones are known and dealt with change over time. But I kind of consider them momentary jokes. I know in some areas of the internet in similar, they become a manner of communication, almost the equivalent of an emote or a shorthand for a concept. Sadly, because of their kind of temporal nature, they tend to get wildly overused during that period. Okay. Spawners, extra positioners, and extra movements need to be released whenever we initialize the node. Or spawner in weapons, do this. For now, we pass. Positioner. Adjust seat. Let's see, positioner in positioners. Positioner. So we need to make sure anytime we enter it that we get rid of it. The reason that I have to do that is that globals are global. They exist outside of even the game instance. I'm using it as global so that we can interact with it universally. That we don't need to worry about it being a game entity. And propagating that out. So like something that collides with the player and then wants to give that player an item, it doesn't need to know to be told explicitly what the player inventory is during its setup. It can just reach out and say, hey, player inventory, do this thing. Movement in movements. This pool. Release this one. So this is a cleanup operation. Right now, spawners don't have a cleanup process. We're going to try just directly cleaning them up without having like a pool concept, because each of the individual spawners can just sit there and do nothing. Like I can prep 6 of them to begin with, and then we can just reset them. Yeah. Initialize it. We could just initialize it. Yeah. I manually initialize it. was my notification that stream will happen. Odd that I hadn't copied anything. So we're clearing everything out. One thing I added between streams here is a max active. If it's 0, it does nothing, but if it's any other number, it limits the number of things in the corresponding zone. So it won't add to that zone if there's already that many. Ideally, I will not have to use this for bullets. If I have to use it for bullets, there's a big problem. Okay, so this clears everything out. We can then set this manually. Here, we can set the target zone manually. We can set the spawn point according to the template that we receive. And we can set the positioner chain. So we don't want to have a set on this because it can get kind of recursive. So we need to be able to set an array to it. So this fully clears it. This will cause some errors elsewhere. Way we can stay consistent here. Just going to clear out all of this default initialization. That will make all of these 0. But we're going to have a known clear out here. Don't know if we need current spawn position. Do we use that anywhere? Okay, yeah, we need that. That's a fail-safe default in there. Spawn has the enough pass, should continue. So this is hey there, Spider. This is going to determine whether we've got everything configured or not. So we could check it every time. We could have one big ugly OR. So we have to have an entity template, a target zone, a spawn point, and positioners. And a positioner chain. If we don't have that... actually, no, it doesn't care about a positioner chain. It could just spawn at nothing. This might be empty, I should say. It has to have a spawn point, though. So these are vital. The rest of these we don't need to check. So we can just do one big if here. Go. Hey there, Lockheed. Okay. How's the week going? Week is going pretty well. Week is going pretty well. Okay. I think this will also work for later concepts. In that entities could have interactions that have subspawners that we would need to set. Yeah. Hello, Lane. We could use a set for spawn point. That way we don't have to worry that we're going to mess with the existing spawn point. And I'm going to assume that's Nathan. That AE there can be tricky. And we could have sets for positioner chain where we give it an array. All right. Entity template you can just mark. Target zone you can just mark. There's nothing special about handing those over. We're going to have set spawn where we don't need a set spawn point. We can do a setter on that. There we go. We're going to make sure we duplicate it. You have missed nothing. And hello, quote. No, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. Whenever we set it, we can clone it. Let's have a failsafe. Let's have a failsafe. We clone it, it doesn't enter the collection. You need to do spawn point pool dot create one of these. There we go. I appreciate it, quote. And hello, Skia. That template use as an entity. And hey there, Arnie. Especially with entity template, we need to do this because the entity template, I don't know, the entity template won't be messed with. Not getting them from the pool when we're initially creating them. Things are going well, Arnie. Things are going well. Doing a lot of thinking on this pass, though. We need to make sure we're doing this right. Spawn point. Do a set. Okay, we can't specify the type in there. Okay, that's because this is specified. It's assumed that this one is one of these. Okay, okay. Alright, we're doing fail-safes in this. No matter what, it always uses a copy. It will get it from the template, it will get it from the corresponding pool as a duplicate of that. Okay. So these need to be explicitly set beforehand. And then we need a Positioners is ray. Art ray. Beam. Okay, so when we do this, and hello laser, when we do this, it's going to append, it's going to rebuild the positioner chain, both from the entity and from these added positioners. Instead of, well, okay, we'll still use the entity template, but we have that. That is one of my cats, Trisha. That one is Ember. As good an opportunity as any. Let's check out the cameras here. Ember is napping. Well, they're all napping. They're cats. But we can see Sky in the upper left there. Well, on widescreen view. Sky's up in his cat tree, and Sammy is on the pillow on the bed. We can't see Mason or Sherbet. I don't know where they're hanging out. They might be under the bed. They are very cute. We're probably going to get errors in a couple of places. We don't need to pass in an entity template when we're creating a positioner chain. Hey there, Yassine. So we don't need to pass anything into that. We can pass this in even if it's null. But positioner chain is null by default. We don't need to worry about this being called or not. So when the object's initially created, we just make sure to purge it out here. When will I finish the game? Very unclear, Fanman. Might take us a good little bit. Okay, so we have added positioners. We have, first we go through the entity chain. Do I do this anywhere else? I don't do this anywhere else. We can just do set added positioners. Let's check our positioners. I need to make sure they'll clean properly. We need to make sure that we're releasing them anytime we're done. New, done. Okay, positioners don't necessarily clean out properly. Yeah. We've never had to release them, that's why. Well, hello, 7. Yeah, positioners aren't being released correctly. Actually, let's check the positioner pool. Just to be sure. Nope, they're not. Why did I choose this character? It originates way back with the original Catbots, which showed up in our Noida mod. And it has progressed since then. So ideally, we have a recursive way to deal with this. Okay, we're going to need to do this each time. So what we're going to do is if positioner dot next positioner, then I'll release on that. So we're going to call all the way down to the end of the chain and release them on our way back up. Yes. Hey there, Azer. Welcome. We're working on our game right now. I would show folks our current status. I like to do that every now and then just to give people an idea of what we're working on, but we are going to be in a broken state at the moment. Hello, Thompson and Alex. Yes, it is. It can look very arcane. It's both knowing the language in question, the engine in question, but also the way that the individual programs. All of those can make coding a little opaque from the outside, but you get the hang of it. It's part of this whole experience. Is sort of seeing seeing our progress with learning Godot. Okay, so when we initially... How am I doing what, Yasin? That is a cat. That one is Ember, Alex. She is 1 of 5. Yasin is if you are broadcasting a YouTube stream in tall ratio, then it will show up on the short shelf. That is why I broadcast in both widescreen so people could actually like see what I'm doing more easily, and then tall format so that people can find it on the short shelf too. Okay, so positioner pool. We reset the positioner chain when we call this, if there is one. So we're going to clear it out. This feels redundant. Hello, Anna. Okay. So when we initially create the object, we make sure to set everything to its default value. We're just doing that for expediency. Because we're going to want to use this going forward. A good habit to be in is if you do something more than once, it should probably be a function. We're making a game, Alex. A Vampire Survivors style game. Hello, Austin. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Azer, if you hear me or if you notice me talking to somebody you can't see, it's because I'm talking in a different stream. In addition to the Twitch stream, there are 2 YouTube streams. I don't show the aggregated chat on screen because people can't be trusted. So we create a copy of the entity that comes in. We only use clone. We only use clone currently. Do that in pools as well. Okay, we clone the template when we want to make a new one. We don't just instantiate a new one, we clone the template. There's definitely some convolution going on here, but we'll have to deal with it. So we set the added positioners. This needs to be called currently to create the chain. And the spawner should do that. So the spawner should be calling initialize. Well, initialize should be called on it. Then we put the added positioners in, even if they aren't relevant to the particular spawner. As in, even if it's empty, we assume that there's something there and we put them in there. That creates the chain. If we don't do this, there's no chain. That is kind of a problem. When we set the entity template, we could also create the chain from just what it has there, so that then we subsequently don't have to call this, because calling this feels like you are adding something. This lets us change those. The entity movement chain needs to happen when it actually spawns. It's a dangerous one for typos, is it not, Plasmix? Positioner chain is only relevant when we set that. But when we spawn it, we call into initialize, and the movement chain happens then. We could add the extra movements at that point. Oh, hi there, one. Welcome back. Sorry, didn't notice that over there, Raptor. Are you having a lightning storm or something? Order of operations and all of this is very tricky. When we spawn the entity, that's when we want to have the extra movements added in. Okay, I feel like we need to combine this together. Okay. We have a reset function, which is all of this. Anytime we're messing with a spawner, we're going to reinitialize it. So first it will reset. And then we're going to pass values in to set all of this so that we don't have to worry about the sequence. Okay, so we have the entity template. We have a spawn point. Then we need added positioners and added movement. Positioners. So anytime we initialize, we're going to create the positioner chain. Hey there, Wolf. Reset it. Okay. So our template is equal to the template to use. Let's just get rid of that. You had a problem with your RPG. What was that there, Wolf? Mods are carefully selected from people that I have interacted with a lot, often outside of the context of a stream there, Blairet, so probably not. You have some sort of aerial physics element there, Wolf? We're going to continue in just a moment, folks. Going to take a quick break. I'll be right back. If you like what you've seen so far and haven't already, consider liking, following, subscribing, all of those good buttons. Consider pressing them. But I will be back in a little bit. And we're back. Okay. Okay. Get rid of the init function now. Short feeds are dangerous in that regard. All right. All right. We create a new copy of the entity. There's technically a risk of expense to this, but it ensures we don't mess up the entity template. This is one of two. This is the only place that we call the entity initialize. Okay. Is the entity needs to have an alternate movement chain. Okay, so we created a new one. We just directly spawn it. We have no extra movements that we can append. That's okay, I think. We never give it a physics tick. It will always just sit still. But we can remove spawner spawn, I think. This lets us just use a template as needed. When we spawn them, we have a target zone already. Just so. Okay, so now it spawns internally. This will be relevant later. This is still here because you can force it to happen. There are some engines, Wolf, that also have decent, like, basic physics involved in them. If you're trying to do things like wind resistance over a surface, it gets trickier at that point. Okay, so then I can do... Is it a 3D tube or a sprite? I mean, regardless, it's... You have a vector of motion, and then you have an entity. If you're looking at just making it fly straight, it's applying that vector for its movement direction and then applying forces like gravity. New entity dot move. Okay, I don't know why it won't tell me what the functions are because it would be convenient, but fine. Movements. Okay. Okay, we have added positioners, but added positioners don't need to be stored off. Oh. We are going to... Nope, 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 nope. We have a naming conflict. So added positioners gets used up right here. Added movements needs to stick around. Well, we'll use this convention. I've used it elsewhere. We're only going to do that once, so that'll be in reset. The ones in the template created yet? We just clone the ones from the template. But they're not put into use until we actually spawn. So when we're creating the positioner chain, we actually create them because now they're in use. But they're not in use until we put them in the entity. So added movements dot clear. We need to make sure that this is always null or always empty. Hello, Doomslayer. That particular Doomslayer. Hooray. Oh, no, we don't need it. We don't need it. As the template, when we initialize it, we create the actual entity template. Now, the entity template is a clone already. Just so. Spawn point is in use now. Again, entity template isn't actually in use until we create it. We can say just added movement then. Okay, because whenever we initialize a spawner, we have to set all of this stuff again, which will be what we use from the inventory. Yeah. So the positioners on the spawner, the movements added to the spawner. The spawner doesn't need to keep track of those. It needs to keep track of the positioner chain because it uses it directly. And because the positioner chain... Where else are we using this? We release them when we reset. Yeah, okay. We'll keep that. Okay, and because we added that movement chain, we don't need to worry about that element. Okay, okay. Okay, so now when we create a spawn point, we need to call initialize on it and give it this information. We can initialize it with an alternate spawn point. There's a spawn point to use. We'll do this. Else, do the same thing, but with the template. No. It's always the template. It's always the template. Same reasoning. Nick, this is GD script, Godot script. It is a scripting language specific to the Godot engine, optimized for actually functioning alongside the graphical elements of the Godot engine. We don't need to do any of that. This template that we pass in should already have all of the positioner elements to it and all of the movement elements modified. When we initialize it, we will give it a template that is ready to go. Okay, so when we're creating the spawner, that's when we mess with the template. Yeah. Because those templates are just references to existing objects, we aren't ever actually getting rid of them. We're not making new ones to run around. We may need to revisit that concept, though. Okay. So then in the player inventory, when we initialize it, go through and we do, I think, we can use reset externally. So that we completely disable it. CLVR, I don't know, we've had a break today. We've been doing Undertale twice a week. Hello there, Jellybean. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Trying to figure out a life cycle for this. So we reset all of the spawners. any sort of shutdown in spawner? We're going to change you to remove. And the movements have not been instantiated yet. Since they haven't been instantiated yet, how long does it take me to code stuff? No, I haven't been coding nonstop. I've been coding more often off stream. Momentum is increasing. I generally use off stream for troubleshooting and research. But we're on day 55 of coding, and it's about 3 hours or so on stream per day. Then we can say weapons clear. We only need to release them when we actually create them. Unless we have expressly called to the movement pool, create one of these, we don't release it. I mean, we could, but it creates a weird scenario for templates. This is the first game I've actually set out to make, Alex. Hello, Ember. Ember has come to sit with me, so she gets back scratches. So we get rid of each of the spawners. We clear out the collection, so everything is reset here. That cat is Sammy, Alex. She's my little tuxedo. Trying to decide on a sequence of events. So when the game starts up, it initializes the player inventory. We don't actually need to worry about the player inventory lingering. So I think initializing it is all we need to do. Because the player inventory, these weapons are only going to take action when they are told to move forward. So the player inventory will not have a physics tick of its own. The game will give it that physics tick. Okay, this is an array of arrays. Same with movements. These are both arrays of arrays. And they would represent slots in a listing. So a weapon is going to be like the homing mouse. So I get the homing mouse. The first collection of slots after it in the inventory are positioners. Things like it fires 3 at once in a cone kind of stuff. And then the next collection of slots after that weapon is its movements. We're going to have it where they always fit, so it'll be... We're not worried about empty slots, essentially. We'll always restructure it, insert at kind of stuff. How we'll actually lay that out has yet to be seen. Can you clarify the question? I answered as if the question was, how many games have I made? And the answer was 0. If the question is not that, then I will need you to clarify. Will always be add weapon. The reason it'll always be add weapon is weapons can't be sorted or removed. It's once it's there, it's there. Weapons, pen, Okay, I think we have 2 collections. So spawners is always a known commodity. Positioners and movements are arrays of arrays. As in, this is a single collection. These are arrays of arrays. These can have empties in them. We will create new arrays when we pass them into the spawners by leaving empty slots here and here. We make it so it's the actual inventory. And we can build the collection accordingly. Almost want you to be able to change the order of the weapons. So I think we shall. But the weapons will always be limited by the number of slots when you drag them around. Yeah, I think that's fine. That's still fine. Spawner. Spawner is a spawner. Spawner.new. Okay. We have the idea of making an individual spawner. And we have the idea of converting the inventory into a spawner. Cyber Ghosty, that is indeed a cat cam. Sammy's doing a little bit of a kitty cat jackknife there in napping position. Let's see how many others we can see at the moment. Bit of a stretch from Sammy. Sky's still snoozing in his tree. So the other three aren't visible right now. Not sure where Ember, Mason, and Sherbet have headed. Sherbet might still be sleeping up and right from Sammy. Okay, we have two concepts of collections here. We have the template entities to use, and then we have the actual spawners. What was what, Alex? The 8 cameras are my cat camera array. I use them so that I can try to keep one of the cats on camera at all times. I can switch between them. So, like, we'll switch over and look at Sky there. So those are the spawners for the weapons. Okay, so this is a fixed collection of 3. We will know what the entity template is. That is correct, Alex. There are 8 little security cameras around to keep track of the kitty cats. Okay, so first we build our... We're going to go through and we're going to clear the spawners. Then we're going to... Okay, anytime we add a weapon, we need to refresh the spawners. And for brevity, we're going to say spawners. just for... Whenever we add a weapon, we need to clear the weapons. Do entities. Extra eyes. We add a weapon template. About 55 days, Cyber Ghosty. On YouTube, the title always has the day number. I've been doing most of the coding on stream. I do speculative poking at the engine off stream. First, we clear the weapons. We get rid of the spawners. Then we're going to rebuild them. We need to keep this and this. So we add a weapon. We've got build weapons in here because if we mess with the inventory at all, we need to rebuild the weapons. Fingers are off center. Movements. Okay, so we're building trimmed arrays because there could be spaces in positioners and movements. For consistency. Entity as entity in entities. Initialize new arrays. Positioner as a positioner in positioners. If positioner, if it's not null, trimmed, and positioner. We do the same thing, but with movement objects. is a movement object, not a positioner. Yep. I've also uploaded a couple of videos as far as like visual progress to the channel. So if you want to see some of what it looks like, you can spot that or take a look at that. Spawner, new. Huh? Equal to entity clone. So we clone the entity that is in the collection and use it as the template. Then entity template, positioners, and rimmed positioners. Be an array that we append. Need to be consistent about this. Entities are a single-dimensional array. Positioners and movements are not. They're two-dimensional arrays. We're trying to be flexible with how many weapons and whatnot there are. Whenever we add a new weapon, we append. So, let's see. I have been live for just about 2 hours now, and I will be live for at least 1 more hour. So we add these. So then, instead of entity in, we are going to do entity is equal to entities I, or I as int in entities dot size. Positioners I in I. We are going to need to have a way to bake in the spawn interval on this stuff. Initialize also needs something other than the entity template. We'll also need to add a spawn points collection. And a target zone. Trey, let's see. Favorite car brand? I don't really have a favorite manufacturer. Least favorite? I think same way. I don't really have a most or least favorite manufacturer. Ultimately, it would come down to the type of vehicle. How it actually performs. Christian, the body you see before you is about 3. The mental engram within it, older than that. Trey, I will take your word for it. I have little knowledge of manufacturers. Template will need to have its spawn point set. We can have an override spawn point on them. I kind of like the idea of being able to override the spawn point. There will be limits on that. No, Alex. And this will be your one warning on that kind of thing, Christian. Come on, streamer bot. You can do your thing. There we go. In particular, and ultimately the core rule, which I have expanded upon to be clear to everyone, is don't be rude. Hello, Half Pint. Welcome. We are working on our game. Okay, if there is a spawn point set, we will pass it in. If not, we'll just use a null in the template. Should we even override spawn points? It is, Cyber. It is the first game I've worked on. We're doing this all from scratch. And I'm doing well, Half Pint. Doing well. There was a coding stream just like one stream before we started this project that was essentially, hey, let's look at Godot and poke it a little bit, see how it works. Then after that, I decided, hey, let's just make a game. Let's go. If we override spawn points, we could get weird things like... No, I think that's actually pretty good. Let's still do that. This one is an array of spawn points. Hello, Banana Man. Welcome, welcome. And I hope you feel better with some rest there, Half Pint. We have some people talking in Twitch, and we have some people talking in the widescreen format there, Banana Man. It varies where people are watching. The spawner's initialize method. We have a zone to use. Okay. Then in the layer inventory, when we are initializing this, bullet zone. Cyber Ghost over on the Twitch side says hello to all you YouTube folks. Half Pint, that is a cat in the corner. That is one of 5 cats. That one is Sky. Your hello has been reciprocated, Cyber. And since the cats were mentioned, let's see how many we can spot. Ember is having a snack, so she's off camera. As is Sherbet, so we can see 3 kitties of the 5. We have Sky in his tree, and then Mason and Sammy, top to bottom, on the bed there. Cat cams are a critical feature. The cat cams are live, Half Pint. is an array of security cameras to track cats. So then, if spawn points I, then entity template spawn point equal to spawn points I. So this one's a little different because we need to have something here for us to override it. Yeah, whenever I try to get like direct pictures of mine, they tend to move around a lot. Okay, so that's a spawn point override. Okay, so now whenever we add a weapon, we will build this whole collection out. These are additions to the inventory. We only have the cat cams really running during stream so that there is no nobody accidentally gets caught on them. Okay, now we need to find any places that we broke this. So, okay, we need to have an actual spawner entity here. New. Initialize will be the player template, the player zone. Spawn does return it still. Okay. we're going to need to have a way to set this stuff up. And it might be that entities that are intended to be weapons will be a weapon type that will carry these intervals and max active and similar with them. But for the time being, we'll set this after. Template. Enemy zone. Have that, so we're going to do so. Okay. Then the player inventory needs a physics tick. And then in game currently in our physics process, we iterate over all of them, but instead we're going to have player inventory, not physics tick, delta. Weapon physics tick. Position respawn at 0 failing. Sorry, half pint. Missed that. You know, they, them. You know, he, him will work either way. Let's try that again here. What's wrong in constants then? Oh. Let's run that again. Let's get our stack trace here. The black and white one is named Sammy. Type spawn at 0. Let's make sure constants is first in catalog, then all of the pools. Calling initialize on template. Okay, this is the player entity. And we have in our spawn point, we have an undefined catalog name. But it is a spawn at fixed. Oh, because it's undefined yet. So then we call into the spawn point pool our spawn point template. We'll call get type. For science real quick. Oh, okay, it wasn't an order thing. Okay, so what we've got is a anomaly here where we're trying to call into constants and we're not getting this value that is definitely there. Like, that's definitely a thing. It's not actually a thing. Okay, we need to populate these with a fixed number. So whenever we append a spawn point, it needs to start as null. So this is when we add a weapon. I did some initial tutorial vids. I did before I got rolling, just to get the basics. During our How Does Godot Work, we used one of the make your first game kind of tutorials. And the reading offline portion is where I get uh, like what tools I could be using. But otherwise, it's just kind of like this where we look at it and say, oh, that's not working how we want it to. I find out that there's something missing and I try to find some stuff on stream. Like I might look up something off camera, like bloop, look up something. um, and then try it out. If I hit that too often, sometimes I'll stop a little early so that the stream isn't just us bashing our head against an unknown. Okay, we need to, for each of these, iterate and create an array and populate it. Yeah. Whoops. Okay, we should be able to do that. Okay, we're back into that working. So then we go into game. Uh, since these aren't operating until a delta happens, that's okay. So Hey, there are blobs again. They are still properly spawning. This is good. Misspelling is really easy in code, and it's especially painful when the misspelling is valid. We've got it capped at 750 blob entities. If they get far enough off screen, you can see the numbers in the upper left. Those are debugging tools there. That is the number of blobs. Hey there, can do. Okay, now let's get our weapon spawners working. So in our ready here, we should be adding weapons, and each of these weapons should be getting activated. We clear them, then we're going to remake them. So our weapon template is a homing mouse. We have no spawn point set, we have no extra positioners. So then we're going to go in and we build the weapons. We clear out the weapons, the spawners. We get the entity, which is our homing mouse. We have no positioners or movements. We clone that template, and we append to its positioners and movements, but that's nothing just yet. Going as no positioners by default, it should have movement objects. Yep, okay. It has its movement objects. We get a spawn point. We don't have a spawn point, so we don't do anything with it. Can do. I'm using Godot 4.2. We are using the version with a monocompile capability, or it can use C#. But currently we're just using GD script. Okay, so we initialize the weapon with what we've got, which is our homing mouse. We have a spawn point created. Now we're going to make the positioner chain. We release the positioners as necessary, but we have no positioners in this one. Just spawns on the player. Wait, how does it not have any positioners? Did I mess that up? Catalog. It's got to have at least one. Oh no, it has a spawn point. Weapons. Spawn point is different. We changed that. So now we're going to initialize it. The zone. It doesn't have a zone. Hey, they're still not spawning. Spawn interval and a max active. Weapons. Nothing is being set up in weapons. You know why there's nothing in weapons? Because I'm not adding it. Oh. That would, prevent the array from being populated if I don't populate it. I mean, the other things were problems too. All right, we are functioning again. So now we need a way to mess with the... yes, they're little wind-up mice, Cyber. Here, we can make them a little more visible. Their eyes blink and their tail rotates like a little key. Now, right now, here, let me go into the catalog. Here's one of the things I adjusted when we load enemies here. So to save me the trouble of having to make multiple interactions for each enemy health value, when I'm loading the entity, I take I get the interaction type and then I modify it accordingly. So this is where I'm saying a blob takes 3 points of damage before it goes away. And then in our items, in the same vein with the homing bullet, I get the bullet hit interaction, I populate it, and then, just like with the other case, I load it into what happens when it touches something. Sherbet has jumped up on my chair rest, so he gets head scratches. Lean a bit because he leans right on my head. If I give him intense enough back scratches, he'll actually flop over between my neck and the headrest. He loses his balance quite quickly if you give him really good scratches. Okay, so now we have the basic concept of adding items into the inventory. So then we're now going to do... We're just going to add a positioner to the inventory here. He just kind of walks by. Sherbet is one of my newest one of my youngest two. Mason and Sherbet were adopted together. We don't know if they're the same litter or a litter from about the same period. It was unclear, but they were essentially little siblings in at the shelter, so I had to adopt both. And he is a little sweetheart, but he's been the most skittish. He is slowly adapting. But when he wants attention, he's not like some of the others where they'll crawl into my lap. All of the others will to some extent. Sherbet so far won't. He only kind of strafes by jumping up on my chair rest. But having seen Sherbet get lots of attention doing that, Sky will now do it. Sky, my oldest cat, learning from the newbie. Mason doesn't sit on my lap like Ember or Sammy will. If Ember doesn't get enough attention, she'll crawl up my chest, want to be held. Mason doesn't want to sit on my lap or be held in the same way. He wants to sit up over my shoulder and be held kind of across his rear hips there. Well, his hips, but not quite the same thing with cats, you know. I as int is equal to 0. Is less than positioners. Okay, no, we don't need a J. For row array in positioners. Oh, this is a hassle. I don't want to do a full iteration, but J as int is equal to 0. Then positioners size. Like this. A is less than positioners I. In false and not added. You have pointy paws, sir. Says, hey, you stop. Let me knead your shoulder with my little razors. Ow. So, Sherbet never lets me trim his claws. He'll run for it and thrash around. Sammy used to not let me. I can get about 1 or 2 toes, maybe a whole paw at a time, but she gets real stressed really fast. Sherbet won't. So Sherbet has full murder mitts on all of his paws, which makes him prone to getting like his claws hooked in fabric or me. If I, J, null. Okay, in theory, this will slot a positioner into the first open slot in positioners. Which means when we are building a weapon, when we're adding a weapon, when we do this, we are going to do five. That'll do for now. You get 5 slots. As soon as it finds a slot, it fills it. That is irrelevant for now. Into our physics process. Let's say 5 for now for testing. And positioner, catalog. Positioner. And weapons. Okay, let's do that. Make sure this is getting hit. Okay, this is a spread. Oh, okay, okay. add the positioner. We rebuild the weapon. We build a weapon. We append all of those. Initialize it with the entity template. As part of that, we're going to create positioner chains. So this should happen 3 times. First time should be with the player. Yep. Now we're going to get the mouse the first time. No, sorry, blob. Okay, homing mouse the first time, and it should have empty positioners. So the next time, 3, 4, 5. So the template to use now should have a positioner. Yep. And it is a spread with a 390 on it. We go into create positioner chain. So we release the positioner chain. So look at entity template. Yep, it still exists. So now we have our positioners array, which contains just that one. There is no positioner chain here. Okay, that's not right. Okay, no, new chain. Should be new chain. That should be correct. Okay, new. Yeah, okay, it's got its values. And weapon. Okay, we're not getting the spread effect on it. We just got a freeze. I'm not looping here. We weren't incrementing our counters. Still not functioning, but we're getting there. We're getting there. create the chain. We initialize it, we create the chain. We are clearing them and initializing each of the spawners each time. No position or chain. So we're going to go 3, 4, and 5. Pause it. Set that. Unpause. Okay. It has no chain still. That means the positioner chain is not being properly regenerated during this. Build weapon once, and this will be the default form. This is the second time. Second time it has no positioners. How did we get to this? Yes, I've done my own art, CyberGhosty. They're 16 by 16 resolution sprites, magnified about 6x, and shown on a 1080 screen. Well, 1080 viewpoint. See if we're actually adding it. Yep. First one. Down to here. So this is a fresh entity template of the entity that we're using. Yeah. So it has no changes. It has just an empty positioners collection. Now if we look at it again, it has a positioners collection. We initialize it with the template. Now we're going to look at weapon. As a null positioner chain. Positioner chain isn't being properly created during this. Okay, so this is going to be player, then blob. It's our homing mouse. This is the first time we encounter it. Second time we encounter it. So we release the positioners. Entity template has a positioner. Get that. We have positioners now. So we have our chain. New chain is... That's correct. I think I know what's happening. Create positioner chain. It returns new chain. But we aren't returning from create positioner chain. Positioner chain equal to new chain. Triple spread. All right, we're going to turn off the blob spawner. Betrayed. Okay, we're going to turn off the blob spawner for a moment. So spreads on spreads get a little tricky because they overlap with each other. There's a limit of 750 of these, but since every 5 seconds we are adding another triple. We are adding a lot of projectiles. All right, basic inventory structure, basic inventory handling is in. We made progress. Now, inventory manipulation isn't in yet, nor are actual inventory objects that are tied to what those entities are. But that's not a big leap away. That'll be our next thing, is trying to represent it and trying to mess with it accordingly. We'll see how that goes. Oh, good times, folks. Good times. I hope you had a fun time too. I find it really engaging. Uh, like, we could keep going, but I think we're going to stop here. I've been dabbling with the idea of going for an extra hour or so, but this feels like a good victory condition for the night. Now, our next stream is going to be tomorrow. We don't normally stream on Thursdays, but today was an exception since we missed yesterday and I still wanted to do the coding. Tomorrow is going to be an Undertale stream. We are playing through it again after many years. We are just before the encounter with Asgore for the first time. We had to stop before the encounter with Asgore because I can't go into the Asgore fight immediately after going through the build-up to the Asgore fight. My heart can't take it. So if you want to see that, make sure to swing by. Same time, we're going to start at about 4 p.m. U.S. Central, our normal stream time. And if you like that or you're looking forward to that, make sure to like, subscribe, follow to the channel so you get notifications when we're going live. So in the meantime, folks, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.